All right, let's begin, everyone. Yeah. People online. Great. So sit comfortably, whatever that looks like in a moment. Keep it simple. And bring your attention to your exhale without trying to change it or control it in any way. Just be conscious of the out breath. Just a simple reflection, the awareness turns to the exhale will change it. Begins to lengthen and relax. So there's a quality in our conscious breath to allow for the exhalation, to allow for it to be a global release. Every cell, every bone, all of your blood, all of the neural net, just exhaling and releasing without expectation. And the exhalation also has the power of inviting our awareness down, closer to the ground. It's still, of course, remaining in the cranium, in the upper body where we're so busy. But it also begins to connect us with our primordial belly, our intuitive belly, the gut, and the roots of the legs, and the core engine in the deep pelvis and belly. So tuning in and also allowing for the inhalation in time, which for me, this is a practice that often feels like embodied patience. You might think of patience as a concept of something we can put onto the mind, but in reality, it is an okayness. It's an alignment with what's happening right now that allows for patience is inherent in that experience. So when the body breathes in and we get out of the way, we're not pulling the breath in and we're not trying to control it. Same as the exhale, but just allow for more of your body to breathe in. So include the legs, start with the feet. And imagine your embodiment taking on the breath bottom to top, feet to brain. Since the polarity of the midline travels up in our bodies, the exterior generally energetically traveling down. This is something to be aware of. It's not something we create. It's innate in the human design. So breath awareness running on its own as a baseline to everything that we do, everything that we create. So can we open the soles of the feet to the breath? Can we allow the inhalation to travel up through the inseams of the legs, through the deep pelvis, and spread out the sacrum and the tail, spread out the deep lumbar belly? These are more than metaphors. This is a real experience we can have when we can feel at a more subtle level the complex creativity that flows through all of us. Feeling into the pelvis, push the sitting bones a little bit more down, a little more actively, and point them not just down, but a little bit behind you. So the pelvis leans just a little bit into the front of the body. And this is complemented by the belly, the entire neck of the belly gently gravitating backwards, especially below the navel. And the two together, the pelvic experience of leaning into the moment and the belly leaning back, sitting back, looking deeper into the experience, these harmonize into neutrality. So the pelvis is perfectly upright. It's not leaning back or leaning forward. But there's a participatory tone which is showing up in the core by just simply pushing down into the earth a little bit. You might find that the legs turn on a little bit or a lot, the pelvis, the buttocks, the low band of the belly turning on, the lower third of the tree of life quickening so that the upper body begins to unwind and flourish and reorganize and find its levity and its buoyancy. You can feel this all the way up into the cranium, releasing tension from the eyes. Change the way that you're sitting, do something different. Like take the other leg in front or take one leg out. But continue for just a bit sitting in this key, in this language of embodied keys. The keys, the shape keys are human shapes, like sitting, that we can remember, and within which we play and find variation. We find dance. So within your seat, begin to allow for the pelvic freedom. So we're going to let the pelvis fall back. And part of the left brain might be like, whoa, this is making me slouch. This is not about that. This is more conscious than slouch. So the pelvis rolls back, the shoulders round, the chin drops, the low belly hugs back towards the sacrum. And then take a moment here and hook your sitting bones into the fabric of the earth. And to sit up, you're not going to push your belly forward. You're going to pull the ground back with your sitting bones until the pelvis leans as far forward as it can, and you're inspired into an extension of the spine, a back bend, as you look up a little bit and pull the shoulders closed and strong belly, bringing the low front ribs back to the kidneys. Looking up and celebrating, and opening the front body. And then with the eyes still on the sky, let the pelvis fall back, the pelvis moving independently of the head, and then the spine rounds and follows the pelvis, the heart falls, the chin falls, the shoulders round. It's really quite sweet, the release. So go back and forth on your own. But what I want to always have you do is orient to how you're moving the ground. So move the earth. Forward, move the earth forward to roll the pelvis back and round the spine. And pull the earth back with your sitting bones to lean into the moment and back bend and look up. Let the arms begin to add. You can push and pull as if you're moving in water, moving earth and water. You begin to already find in the shape of sitting all of the amazing variations that are already emerging. And you're a moving sculpture, you're an emergence of creative energy. And I really want to emphasize, as I always do, the tonality of the moment, the engagement of every fiber of your being. Hence, the metaphor of pushing and pulling water in earth. So you can engage at such a deep level globally that you're shivering a little bit, you're shaking, and this is a good thing. Change the way that you're sitting again, but continue to move. Mostly, we're exploring anterior, posterior, front, back, respectively, movement from the pelvis in the key of sitting. And let the head look around, let the head be free of the movement, inspired by the movement. instead of trying to create the movement. So if you're able to access your wild animal here, you'll be able to turn everything on in a way that is both soft and extraordinarily powerful. Kind of thing that you've seen in the Tai Chi and the Qigong, dance, and martial arts over the years, over very long periods of time, this recognition, technology engagement without any gear. Just a little bit longer, everyone. Keep the brow soft. Keep the core warm and strong. The buttocks should be on pretty much perpetually. And one more time, change the way that you're sitting. But let's all do the same thing. Sit cross-legged with the right leg in front. And let your movement come into relative stillness. You might lay your hands on your knees or in your lap and dangle the elbows towards the floor as you open the chest. And also as you open the chest, you're not really pulling the shoulder blades together so much. That's a part of it. But mostly it's the volume now in the lung that opens the rib basket between the shoulders, making more space. So imagine the chest, the upper chest and the upper back being equally wide. And bring some attention to the diaphragm, the respiratory diaphragm, and open up the back of the diaphragm with your breath so that the kidneys spread out a little bit and the low front ribs come slightly in reciprocally. So again, the front mesh of the belly looking into the moment, looking backwards towards the spine and towards the core. Now, from here, with the right leg crossed in front, begin to rock the boat, leaning side to side. Go really slow, really strong. And go very small in your movement at first, 20, 30, 40 degrees across the midline. And there's this beautiful feeling of just rocking on the hips. So the hip that you're leaning away from is going to naturally lift off the floor if you go far enough. And that's something you want to allow to happen because it's playful. It's also being honest with the tension side body, the long side body, or where you're feeling the stretch. And so remember that the practice here is not to seek a stretch, but to lengthen and strengthen at the same time. So when you feel your side belly, or wherever you're feeling it, the hip, maybe a joint doesn't feel supported, like one side of the sacrum or a hip, that's a call to action, and you want to really engage until you don't feel the stretch. And notice the beautiful gift of that right participatory tone is that you can usually move more deeply in your range of motion. So we rock side to side. We're keeping our hands off of the floor for now. But what you can start to do is tuck an elbow inside one inner thigh. So here I'm leaning to my left, and I'm letting the left tricep shoulder pull against the inner thigh. So starting to work the shoulders a little bit, going back and forth. Try that. And just leaning in just inside one inner thigh. You can pull the tricep shoulder down into the leg, and it activates your body in a more creative way, a more complex way. So we want a deep vocabulary for how we, and I'm not talking about spoken word, I'm talking about the movement itself as the vocabulary. Tucking tricep inside the thigh, you can move more deeply. Now you're feeling the side belly, and probably on the back of that side belly, QL and obliques. We want to really strengthen those. And if you find it difficult to engage the obliques and the QL, we want to turn on the same side buttocks, and it will help translate the action further to where you need it. So turn on the glutes. The glutes tend to be culturally sleepy. So we're opening the hips, we're working the shoulders, we're working everything, especially the core belly, the corset, the functional corset is turning on and waking up. A couple more here, everyone. So creativity without binding the head in the same place. Let the head look around, let the eyes be soft, open or closed. And then what we're going to do is come up and switch the way the legs are crossed. So we do this one a lot. One of the things we tend to be culturally lacking is wingspan and suppleness on the sideline. So this is huge medicine for it. So now we're going to keep going, but now you're going to place a hand down on the floor outside of it. And I don't know if you can see at home, but I've got the hand turned out. And so you want to dig your fingertips in and put a lot of weight in the root of the index and thumb. The more active the hand is, the more stable the wrist, the more stable the elbow, the more stable the shoulder, and it allows for deeper range of motion. Keep the elbow right next to the same side kidney. You can also use your free hand, your top side hand, to help and use 2 hands. So go back and forth, and the range of motion needs to be really honest. So because if you overload the shoulder, you're gonna tweak. You might tweak yourself. Also, with the left leg in front, you can also do this. You can set the leg. So if you lean to your right, try this over, lean to your right. Let the left knee pop up, and the left foot is on the ground. And that's just another variation that we play with a lot that leads into other things. But mostly just find your way, leaning into loading the shoulders, and keep the loaded shoulder as far away from the ground as you can, and away from the ear too, if possible. What I like to do is pull both shoulder blades together on the back as we get into this more deeply. So grabbing on with the hand, very active hands, making the wrist lighter. You should be putting very little weight on the little finger side of the wrist. Very little weight. Couple more. You can go so far that you can touch the forehead to the floor or a temple. Wow. One more per side. Moving earth side to side with your hips. Moving through the water. Oh, so good. So good. Beautiful. And then we're going to come up and go ahead and come lying down on your back. Thanks for coming, everyone. That was fantastic. Great class. It's a weird thing about Zoom and COVID is like, it's hard for you to even say it. The connection. Oh, I missed the connection. And yet it's there. So I can't tell if you're laughing at my bad jokes or just rolling your eyes. So push your legs out long and spend a little bit of time following the exhalation invitation to release the cranium into the earth. So lay down the mind, lay down the shoulders, lay down the kidneys, diaphragm. Lay down is just an inspiration to release. Practice emptiness in these points of interest. Lay down the sacrum, the pelvis, and the tail. Lay down the inner thigh, the groin. Empty the pelvic floor. Lay down the legs in general without locking the knees. Lay down the heels. Open the soles of the feet. And feel how in a relatively short period of time you have deeply stirred your system. The conscious pulsation and the rhythm. The inherent power of movement. Now we're going to bend the knees and walk the feet in towards the hips. Keeping the feet relatively close together, the knees close. We've been really loving this one lately. Extend your left leg out in front of you and turn the left leg out so the outer edge of the left foot touches the floor. The right foot staying close, keeping the legs pretty close together. Now bring your arms down by your sides and lift the hips up. And so you've got one leg long, and that long leg is turned out, and one leg underneath you, like in a bridge. And you're going to move the pelvis from side to side, rocking the legs and the belly and the pelvis together, leaning as far into one side as you're safe doing with the shoulder. And of course, when you lean to your right, the outer edge of the left foot doesn't touch. But we're letting the left leg turn out in general. Take the hips higher and drop the kidneys. Pull the shoulders into the ground. So you want to orient to pulling into the earth, shoulders and feet, lifting the fulcrum of the pelvis, brushing the belly colorful across the sky. So it's constant, undulating, pulsating warmth you're going to feel in your back chain from the back, the head all the way to the feet. The buttocks really working. Keep the knees closer to the mind. Now go ahead, while you're continuing across from side to side, bring the left foot in and extend the right leg out. Turn the right leg out and keep going. And you may not realize that while you're in this, how strong the belly actually has to be. You can keep the belly smart and close to support the lumbar spine, to keep the kidneys open, and to stabilize the low back and the sacrum. Strong belly from pubic bones to the low front ribs. Just 20 seconds, everyone. 20 seconds. Oh, wow. Find your variations. Find your colors and your textures. Walk the right foot in. Keep the hips up for a moment and come to relative stillness along the midline. The knees very close, the feet pretty close. Drop the kidneys, lift the hips, and slowly lay down on the earth. Now walk the feet together and take the knees away from each other so the soles of the feet touch, but pull the balls of the feet away from each other so only the heels touch. Dorsiflexing both feet. Lay your hands across the inner thigh near the groin, the pelvis, and invite, first of all, invite the ease and volume of the breath. The fingertips are going to touch the bundles of muscle that are popping up the inner thigh, adductors. And you're going to just softly push with your fingertips, push those bundles of muscle away from your head towards your toes. At the same time, try to point your sitting bones forward and down a little bit. So you have a little bit of a back bend happening in your lumbar spine, and then keep the deep groin, keep everything happening in the legs. Push the outer edges of the feet down until the buttocks are on, the legs are on, and then drop the diaphragm and the belly towards the floor without tucking the pelvis. Now pull the shoulders into the ground, soften the brow, keep everything totally on. You should be shaking slightly, a little bit of a shiver for most of us. And this is a beautiful thing, moving micro-trauma into the system. Clearing the pelvic floor, clearing the kidneys. Fear, anxiety, letting ourselves trust again in the unknown. And then from here, stay really strong and push your legs out, resting. And don't let the power fade until the legs are all the way out. And then let it go. And feel your heart space, feel the lungs open, supported by the deep activation of the core. The heart begins to relax and pericardium discharges any excess. The lungs too, the lungs have been under, on the radar, hyper-focused for a year, over a year. So trust in your immune system's capacity when you bring such consciousness and such deep movement to your life, that the body in its brilliance, the soul in its brilliance, will alchemize and clarify and purify and strengthen. Sweet. Okay, everyone, take your time, bend your knees, walk your feet in towards your hips. And come up to a seat when you're ready. All of these transitions are part of practice, the conscious transitions. As you come up, sit with the left leg in front. Take your right leg out to your right. Okay, so I like to keep a bend in the knee, and so we, in this language of this practice, borrowed from martial arts and yoga and a lot of study, a lot of experimentation, we don't want to sit at one extreme of a muscle for very long. So by keeping the right knee bent, we have more potentialities, more ways that we can go. Also, it allows you to feel as you pull your right heel down into the ground and pull the right sitting bone down into the ground, that you're activating, pre-engaging, if you will. And so as you lean over the right leg, you want to be strong enough in that sinking of the right heel that you don't feel a stretch. And then sweep your torso through the middle over to the left knee and lay the left shoulder against the left knee. And then go back across to the right, leaning over the right leg and come up. So that's what we're doing for a little while. So lean in on the right leg, pulling the heel down, sweep through the middle, lay your left shoulder on your left knee. You can turn and have a look around anytime in any direction. Try not to do the same thing all the time. So we just keep sweeping across the midline in this asymmetrical variation and continued sitting. Pay attention to the buttocks and the tone of the pelvis in general, the tone of the legs, and the tone of the lower, at least the lower half of the torso. Turn all of it on. So it's this movement and gently scrubbing and delaminating the places that tend to get stuck together. Okay, so now let's all get on the same page. We're going to end sitting up. We're going to add a piece now. So from here, let's do this together. You're going to lean in on your right side again, and then pass through the middle, but then turn and take your hands to the floor outside your left knee, pop up into a lunge. Now the lunge is another shape. It's a very long stance. The front knee bending mostly, the back knee long mostly, but we're moving within the shape of the lunge. So whatever that looks like for you, and again, when you start feeling the stretch, maybe in the right hip flexors or the right or the left hamstrings, you want to tone that space, slow it down, go half speed, put your hands on the ground, and stay here. So we're going to balance between this shape, which is a crouch, a very long crouch, and a lunge. And when you do this, you're going to find your own variations. But I want you to try and see if you can move the earth backwards and forwards with your hands and feet. That's the orientation. Moving, pushing and pulling earth, water, letting the neck be soft. See what's possible. And then all we're going to do is turn around 180 degrees to the right. Pivoting, continue bouncing between the lunge, right leg lead, and backing the hips up into a crouch, a long crouch. So these are two distinct shapes, human shapes that we play around with. They're part of the 7 shape keys. Gateways into movement, really. So notice how you can push the ground forward to move your body back. And push the ground backwards between you to bring your body forward. This is the reciprocity. And the earth, she loves it. Now, a quarter turn to your left, wide legs. Walk the feet in closer together. Turn the hands out. Bend the knees, feet parallel. And like monkeys, we're going to throw the ground to the right and shift our bodies to the left. Move the earth to the left and shift your body to the right. Let the head look from side to side or underneath. And really load the hands. So you got to really dig the fingertips in. Keep the wrist hollow and light. And Michelle, this isn't just for you. I talk about this all the time. Usually wrist things are coming from the shoulder, so we want to loosen the complex relationship between the shoulders and the side of the neck. Now let the feet break loose, so there's a lot of footwork happening. So you're in this side-to-side motion, in this folding shape with a wide stance. pushing the earth side to side. We didn't forget about where we started in this. We're coming back to it. Really work. Lift the belly away from the floor. So your heel can lift. You can pivot on one foot, doing different things. And what we're going to do is walk the feet closer together, dancing closer and closer, and then how to find a squat, any kind of squat, another key. And go ahead and have a seat. Right leg in front, and pause. So as you close your eyes and fall into the moment, you'll be feeling a lot. And it's this deep conscious stir that is so medicinal when we're more and more aware of how we choose to engage in this way. So the inside leg, the left leg, we're going to take the left leg out to our left and bend the knee a good 4 or 5 inches away from the ground. The toes point out, the heel is hooked in and pulling down already. You also want to pull or push the left sitting bone down. Okay, so keeping that pre-engagement without the hands, lean in over the left leg. Pass through the middle, over, lay to the right. Lay your right shoulder against inside the right knee. I like to look down here most of the time, sometimes I look up. You can play around on your own and then sweep back through the middle, over to the left leg and come back up. So several times, leaning in, moving through water, pass through the middle, over to the right. And notice how the belly will tend to go offline when you rest the shoulder against the knee. Everything gets kind of a little bit slack. So give a beautiful invitation for the weaving, the tapestry of the belly to really engage throughout all of the movement. Back and forth a few times. And maybe you can feel what's happening in the hips. You can feel what's happening in the side belly. Stay strong, especially in the left hamstrings, everyone. Good. Now let's come up and pause for a moment. All of this movement is context to point to our midline, which is beginning to manifest as what it really wants to be, is mid-space, an open channel, your central axial channel, source axis. And so you can feel that as we take a moment of pause. Now we're going to lean back in over the left leg. And then sweep through the middle, but as you go over to the right, take your hands outside the right knee and pop up into the shape of the lunge. Move around the lunge for a little while. And this time we're going to do something a little bit different. Instead of moving the earth front to back, which you can do, of course, we're going to push the pelvis way away from the floor, letting the legs get pretty long. Put my hands behind the front foot. And then dropping the pelvis towards the earth. So now we're pushing the earth away from us and then falling back to the earth. And another way I want you to play with this is push the ground down and lift the hips. But then pull the earth to you with your hands and feet to come closer, dropping the pelvis without touching the back of the knee so much. So pushing and pulling in the shape of a lunge. Let the breath be free, open, soft eyes. And we're going to turn all the way around to our left, 180. Getting into the same lunge shape. So drop the pelvis down, get the hands set, be soft and strong at the same time. And then push the earth down, lift the hips, their legs will get long, strong in the left hamstrings, and then pull the earth to you to move closer to the ground. So go up, high and low, and find your footwork, find your variations, mostly in how you rotate the hips, how you articulate the ankles and feet. Spine. So don't fall to the earth. Hold yourself down. Very strong. And then a quarter turn to your right into the wide legs. So we're really working the shoulders now, loading the whole body. Turn the hands out again. And get back into your bilateral or side-to-side rhythm. Now the head will tend to get fixed, we'll get stuck, and this is where we help clear the shoulder, elbow, wrist by letting the head softly disengage and look around your environment while you continue the movement. The core continues on its own, deep intuition and intelligence, but the head is free to look around and not worry so much about what's going on. You're moving here side to side. What we're going to do is set up some side squats. So shift over to your left side and balance on the ball of the left foot, dropping down into a side squat like this. Now this particular shape, this shape of a squat, you can turn the left leg out, but it can also turn all the way around and just touch the right knee. So this is some of the variation. If you're on a mat, be careful and make sure that the left thigh and the left foot point in the same direction all the time. We're going to shift over to the right side, go slow. You got to really be able to track your bones, track your joints. Where are all of your bits? Remember that the stretch you're going to feel here in the left hamstring and adductors is a call to action. Turn it on. Turn the buttocks on. Or shift back and forth on your own 3 or 4 times. Take your time. Another quality of moving within water is a sense of buoyancy, right? So as we tone more globally, as we engage more globally, things get easier. There's more energy, more staying power, more strength, and we're also supple. Oh, yes, and then we're going to have seats creatively. Now let the shoulders drape like you're wearing a cape or a shawl. And going back to that invitation for the chest and the upper back to be equally wide. Just give a few more moments here before we dive back into the movement. So watch your breath and going all the way back to the beginning, allow as much as you can. I love this keyword allowance, getting out of the way. The breath will move on its own, it's autonomous. And when it's conscious, we're really holding space for ourselves. And so to allow the breath to touch as much of our experience as possible without expectation. So I want to guide us through 2 specific sequences that came through this morning. We're going to start in this first one, actually both of them, they start sitting cross-legged with the left leg in front. So go ahead and set up cross-legged, left leg leading. And let's go through nice and slow, and we'll repeat the sequence. So we'll have the rhythm in the sense of moving through it. With repetition and rhythm, it's a little bit easier. So start with your left leg in front. What we're going to do is just raise our left arm, like you're going to reach back and scratch behind your right shoulder. Take the hand high and look down over your left shoulder, because that's where you're going to go. So we're winding up a little bit. And then we're going to turn to our left and set the left hand down, maybe both hands down, and lean like we did earlier, all the way to the left. Now reach your right arm high and behind you, closing your shoulder blades, and strong belly, everybody. And then push back up. And as you come back up, you're going to set your right hand down behind you. Okay, and you're going to squeeze the shoulder blades close, and then step your left leg, knee up and foot down. Then lift your hips and extend your right leg forward. So you're kind of looking off to your right about 45 degrees, and you turn the right leg out and lift the hips. Now drop the hips down close to the floor for a moment. And then lift a little more powerfully by pulling the left foot down into the ground. Then go ahead and take the left hand off the floor and turn your right hand out as you come into like a side plank. Okay, and then set the right foot in front of you, in front of the pelvis. Okay, so what that looks like, you taking the hands for those of you at home, is you're here, you're stepping the left foot in front of the pelvis. And then here's what we're going to do. Watch. Turn to your right, put the left hand down, and spin into a side squat on the left leg. So you end up right leg out to the side, perched on your left, the ball of the left leg in the squat. Okay? So let's go all the way back to the beginning. From the top, people, here we go. It's a dance class. Left leg in front, just sitting peacefully. Okay, so bring both your arms up and to the right, but look over your left shoulder. And then again, you're in the water, so turn to the left, set the left hand down, and bring it down into the side bend push. Use your right hand if you need to. And then as you come up, take the right hand behind you, set your left knee up and your left foot down, and slide the right leg out, turning the right leg out, lift the hips. Go way up. Take the left hand off the floor, balance on the right side, the right hand, and side plank, and then step the left foot over the top in front of the pelvis. Put both hands down, carefully turn to your right, with 180 into a side squat, right leg out to the side. Stay here for a moment. Good. Now, bring your chest right over your left knee. And what we're going to do is, and I don't know if it's been a while since we've done this, but let me show. Check this out. Actually, turn to your right, everyone. Set your hands on either side of your right leg. Go ahead and lay the right hip down. Then take both hands outside your right knee and do a soft push up here, pulling the shoulder blades close together, laying the right temple on the ground. And then come back up. Look towards the left knee, pick back up into your side squat. And then we're going to lift the hips and hop the right foot behind the midline, crossing the midline into a simple fold to the left leg cross. Stay here for a moment and move around and release any residual tension from everything we just did. Okay, now from here, uncross the legs and drop down into a squat with the left side, with the left foot leading. And all we're going to do is just slide the left leg out in front of you. Okay, left leg forward. And you're going to turn to your right, quarter turn into another side squat on the right leg. So it looks like this. Stay where you are. So we have the left leg crossing the front. I know this stuff is from just play around. From here, I uncross, slide into a squat. Take the left leg forward and turn into a side squat over the right leg. Okay. I'm moving around in these. There's always movement available. The whole point Then watch. Put both hands on the floor, close to the right knee. You're going to slide your right foot to your left leg and push yourself over into a squat. And then from here, slide the right foot forward a little and have a seat. And you'll end up sitting cross-legged with the right leg in front. So I know that was a beautiful mess, and that's the whole point. We want to be outside our comfort zone, or at least at the threshold. But we'll repeat the sequence, and you're going to find your dance in all of it. So sit with the right leg in front. Pause for a moment and feel as much into your experience. And then we're going to raise both arms high and to the left, across the body. Look over your right shoulder, winding up, and then lean to your right. Put the right hand down. Careful with the shoulder, with the wrist. Come all the way down if you have the strength for it. And then as you come up, take your left hand to the floor behind you. Set your right leg so the knee is up, foot is down. Slide the left leg out in front of you. Turn your toes to the left, and then lift the hips. You're going to transition into side plank on your left end. So gain your momentum. Look to your left, pick up the right hand. Then step the right foot in front of the pelvis, toes turned out. And then both hands down, turn from the balls of the feet to your left until you're in a side squat over the right leg. From here, take your left hand outside your left knee, lay the left hip down, take both hands outside your left knee, and come into push-up. Hold the shoulder blades together, maybe kiss the earth with your left temple, and then push back up to the side squat over the right leg. Oh, so good. So the variations where you can take your elbows inside your knees and kind of pulse side to side a little bit. And then all we do from here is turn towards the right knee, lift the hips, and hop your left foot just a little behind you across the midline. So this is the key of folding. You got the right leg crossed in front. Move around in this. And then drop the left foot just behind the right, drop into a squat, asymmetrical squat with the right foot leading. Now slide the right leg out in front of you, turn a quarter turn to your left, and end up in a side squat over the left leg. Look at your right foot, put both hands down, and we're going to slide the left foot to the right, and slide ourselves into a squat, locking ourselves in from the hands. And from here, pop the left foot in front, and have a seat. You'll end up sitting where we started, left leg in front, cross-legged. So take a few moments. Take a few moments, relax the space between the brows, and also open the temples, open the big bay windows of the side of the cranium, softening the side of the neck, tops of the shoulders. Pull the sitting bones a little bit back, and let the belly softly gravitate towards the spine. Okay, so bring the arms up and to the right, winding up. Look over your left shoulder. That's where your left hand is going to go. As you come down, lean to the left. Use both hands if you need to. Okay, and then as you come up, reach your right hand around behind you, the hands as close as possible. Set your left leg with the knee up, foot down, slide your right leg forward. Okay, now lift the hips high, balance on the right hand, turn over the top through side plank. The left foot steps in front of the pelvis. And both hands down, turn to your right, almost 180 degrees into the side squat over the left hand. Now continue to turn towards the right knee, but I want to give you an option here. As you do your push-up, you can have your right hip down on the floor, but you can also do this and keep your right hip slightly off the floor. Okay, rolling to the right and then come back into the side squat over the left leg. Lift the hips and bring the right foot behind you close to the line, just a little bit. Stay here for a few moments. It's a beautiful place to hang out after a little bit. Move around you, maybe Maybe have the hands down, soften the neck and the eyes. Complex codependency between shoulders and necks. And everyone. Beautiful practice to release it. Uncross the legs, but drop down into a squat with the left knee. Slide the left foot out in front of you. Turn a quarter turn to your right. Near the side squat on the right leg. Now with the hands down inside the knees, you're going to slide the right foot to the left and into a squat. Slide the right foot forward. Now seat. So right leg is leading. How's everybody doing? Don't answer. Because it's hard to answer. Just checking in. Right leg is in front, sitting cross-legged. Raise both arms high and to the left. Look over your right shoulder. That's where your right hand is going to land. So lean into it. Get into your push. Strengthening shoulders. Strengthening your wrist. Okay, as you come up, take your left hand behind you, close to the right hand. Pick up your right knee. Put your right foot down and slide your left foot forward, toes out. Lift the hips. Turn to your left side plank. Right foot steps over the top of the hips. And then we pivot and turn all the way around to the left side squat on the right. Take both hands outside the left knee. You can do a push-up here. Maybe keep the left hip off the floor. Back up to the side squat on the right leg. Lift the hips and slide the left foot just behind you across the midline and stay here for a second. And hang the head from a long neck. Look slowly to your left, or slowly to your right. Just place the left foot just behind the right foot and drop into an asymmetrical squat, right foot leading. Slide the right foot further forward to a quarter turn to your left with the hips and you're in the side squat on the left leg. Try putting the elbows down. Put the elbow down inside of the legs and move around a little bit. Push and pull the earth lovingly. Using your hands, look to your right foot. Slide the left foot to the right foot into the squat. Slide the left foot out in front and sit. Left leg in the lead. Good work, everyone. So let's pause here. This is another sequence. Give you a moment. Give us a moment to just drop in even deeper. So if you can perceive spaciousness anywhere in the body, it's a good thing. But focus on the sacral space and see if there's room in and around the sacrum. Even it may extend beyond the actual physical body. Is our skin the barrier? I don't know. Okay, so the second sequence also begins where we are now with the left leg in the lead, sitting cross-legged. What we're going to do here is lean back a little bit, roll back on the pelvis, and take the legs up in the sky with the left ankle still crossed over the right, kind of flying the legs high. And while you're up here, without using the hands, switch the way the legs are crossed, right over left. Okay, and put your hands down, bring the left foot in first, and come up into an asymmetrical squat with the right foot leading. Now, in order to stand and do it consciously, We need to pre-engage. So you're going to grab on with your toes, like we've been doing with the hands, grab on with the feet, and turn on the hamstrings, buttocks, the backs of the legs, and pull the ground back and lift up the skin. And what we're going to do is balance on the left leg. Let me adjust the camera. Balance on your left leg, pointing the right leg forward out in front of you towards the floor, and cross the right toes over the midline. Now lean back. Keep the kidneys full by bringing the low front ribs to the kidneys. And balancing here, look over your right shoulder down at the ground if you can. Drop your left arm if that helps you counterbalance. Good, and from here, drop the right foot behind you into a cat stance. Now, cat stance is a playful thing borrowed from martial arts. I'm just going to goof around with this. Most of the weight is loaded into the right leg. Point the right toes and the right knee in the same direction. And what we're going to do is look from here, look down outside your left leg. Okay, what we're going to do is bring the left hand down from your cat stance, bring your left hand down and turn. And you end up in a crossing crouch. Left leg over the right leg. Move around in this, mostly the pelvis traveling between the feet overhead. Now here's a fun bit. We're going to pivot on the ball of the left foot. So C into a lunge. And what we're going to do is see our body from above. And you're going to turn clockwise like this. And walk your hands to the right. Pivot all the way around 180 degrees and drive your right leg back into a lunge. Now keep moving around. The left leg is still in the lead. And what we're going to do, everyone, is take the hands to the floor and step your left leg back and take the legs wide in a plank. The legs wide. Okay, now step the hands up like this, where your right hand is at 2 o'clock, and your left hand is like, or 1 o'clock, and your left hand is at 7. Bring your hips lower, and you're in a wide plank, and you're going to turn your hips to the left and drop the right hip towards the floor. And then turn your hips, lift, and turn your hips to the right. And lower your left hip towards the floor. And once again, with the hips, turn the feet and the hips, drop the right hip towards the floor. Lift the hips, turn to the right, and drop the left hip towards the floor. And then as you come up, step your left foot forward into a lunge again. Then we're going to hop onto the left leg and walk the right foot out in front of the crouch. So the shape of the crouch, knees bent, varying instantly in how we move in it. And all we're going to do is drop into a squat with the right foot forward. You can close the gap, drop into a right side leading asymmetrical squat. Put your right hand down, wrap your right leg around the left ankle as you turn to your left and stick with the right leg leading in the end. So here we go. Lean back on the pelvis. Float your legs out in front of you, right ankle crossing the left. While you're up there, slowly switch the way the legs are crossed without the hands. Then bring the right foot in close. Rock up into asymmetrical squat, the left foot leading. Pre-engage to stand. Okay, go ahead and come on up. Strong all the way up, good. Now from here, balance on the right leg. Bring the left toes way out in front of you, across the midline. Lean back, opposite that left leg, and look over your left shoulder. Okay. And then as you come back up, take your left foot behind you and fall into a cat stance. And then from cat, look to your right, down at the floor, and turn to your right. Drop both hands down, turning the feet and the hips, and you let it cross and crouch. Hold. And move around in minutes. Okay, now see yourself from above. We're going to do this a little differently. We're still going to pivot on the ball of the right foot. But you can turn, so your head's going to turn to the left. You can spin counterclockwise and slide the left leg way back into a lunge. Oh, move around the lunge to release residual tension. Good. Now put both hands down. Step the right leg back on a wide-legged plank. We're going to set the left hand at 11 o'clock and the right hand at 5 o'clock. Okay. And you're going to move by turning the hips and lowering the low side hip towards the floor. It's important to turn the feet as you go back and forth a few times. Feel how the whole body organizes to find this, navigate this. Oh, yes. And then we're going to step the right foot forward into a lunge. Hop off the back leg, take the left leg forward into a crouch, right leg back. Which falls into a squat, left foot leading, closing the feet a little bit. You can put your left hand down, wrap your left leg around your right ankle, turn to the right quarter turn, you can sit with the left leg on top. You might find that you come out of these sequences with really savage hair, a little bit like Chewbacca. This is a good thing. And your heart rate should be elevated. And you want to get out of the way and let the heart thunder, but let the heart be soft in its power. The lungs open on either side of the heart. All right, let's do the sequence again. So leaning back, fly your legs up in front of you, left ankle over the right. Switch the way the legs are crossed. Play around with this, and then come into an asymmetrical squat with the right foot leading. Prepare to stand, okay, by just giving yourself a moment to recognize what's going to be necessary, pre-engage, and lift up slowly, all the way up. Lean back on the left leg, point the right toes forward and across the midline. Lean back into the right, look over the right shoulder. Then drop the right foot behind you in a cat stance. Getting into the hips and really letting the right hip kick out behind you, very light on the ball of the left foot. Look to your left down on the floor and bring your hands down to the ground outside to the left, turning to meet the hands in a crossing fold we call sometimes the crouch. All of these shapes blend and share all the time. Now, from above, see yourself turning clockwise. You spin around and take the right leg way back behind you into a lunge, left leg lean. Take both hands to the floor and set up your wide plank. Okay, right hand at 1 o'clock, left hand at 7 o'clock. Turning the hips to one side and dropping the front pocket of your blue jeans almost to the ground. Back and forth a few times. Try to turn on and include the buttocks. Keep the arms long. Step the left foot forward into a lunge. Step the right foot out in front into a crouch. Shuffling your stance, being light on your feet. Close the feet even more, drop into a squat. Right foot leading. Put your right hand down. Look left. Wrap the right leg around the left ankle, and have a seat. Right leg is in front. It's very powerful to recognize, especially in the context of, in the construct of a guided class, that This is all inspiring your own personal intuitive movement. And there's a lot of dialogue about tracking and taking care of yourself, but notice how even in the guided sequence, just the second time through is much more fluid. The nervous system is tracking and opening, and when we're doing things we don't normally do, it's so high vibration on so many levels. It's nourishment, soul food. So we're going to roll back on the hips, lie the legs, right ankle over the left. Last time, everyone. Switch the way the legs are crossed, left over right. And then bringing the right foot down first, roll up into your asymmetrical squat, left foot leading. So this is all knee therapy. If you give it a chance, give it time. We're going to prepare to stand, okay, by grabbing onto the ground. And I want you to try something. Take your hands out to the side like this, and pushing the palms down on air blocks. You're going to push yourself up to stand. Then as soon as you're on your feet, rock back onto the right leg. Point the left toes forward and across the midline. Bring your torso back into the left. And look down over your left shoulder. Pay attention to the right foot, the quality of the connection to the ground through the right foot and toes. Then come up, drop your left foot behind you into a cat stance. Look to your right, falling to the floor gracefully, crossing the right leg over the left into a crouch. Stay here for a moment and enjoy the movement. Then see yourself from above. We're going to turn clockwise, spinning around, taking the left leg way back into a long lunge. Both hands down, inside the right foot, step back to a long plank. The left hand at 11 o'clock, the right hand at 5. Turn the hips one way and drop very consciously. Try to tone gently your entire body. Remember to keep the weight on the index and thumb side of the wrist. Hollow the wrist by grabbing on the fingertips, your feet and your toes, and your hands and fingers are very active. Step the right foot forward into a lunge. Step the left foot out in front into a crouch, right foot back. Let this morph into a squat, left foot leading. Put the left hand down, look to your right. Wrap your left leg around your right ankle and sleep. Left leg in. Oh, yes. Go ahead and come lying down on the back of your neck and rest. Conscious rest is the ultimate allowance for life and release, and the practice of emptiness. So, as always, I'm so grateful for our opportunity to take this time and the space and practice. Let your transition back into the flow of your day be as graceful and unexpected as possible. So the first movements, the toe, the finger, the breath, your transition up to sitting is part of that practice. So beautiful, everyone, to have this time together and breath together. So many gifts. I am grateful. It's an honor always. Thank you for sharing yourselves and showing up the way that you do. Blessings.